The Himalayas. They are known as the rooftop of the world. This is the largest mountain range on the planet. Surrounded by peaks 7,000 and 8,000 meters tall, this area is completely frozen and inaccessible for most of the year. The air here is so thin that it is hard to breathe. This barren valley of ice hides the beginning of the holiest river in India. Ancient myths describe the river as so intensely pure that just one drop of its waters cures disease and wipes away sin. This is because the Ganges is not just a mere river, but one of the most powerful goddesses, supernatural and indestructible in her greatness. This is the story of the millions who depend on her for their spiritual as well as physical sustenance. The Ganges begins near India's border with Tibet and Nepal. From here, the river runs from west to east, flowing more than 2,500 kilometers across India, from the Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal. Ganga, as the river is called in India, emerges from beneath an ice glacier that has been melting for thousands of years. It is necessary to get an experienced guide to reach Gomukh, which is the source of the river. It is here at Gomukh that you can see the first drops of ice become the river Ganges.
Gomukh name is Go. Go means cow. Mukh means mouth. Gomukh. Gomukh means cow, mouth. Cow is mother, Ganga is mother. I pray cow, morning time his leg is all Hindus.
Here in India, people believe the Ganges is so pure that it's impossible to pollute her waters. You can almost see how they could believe this, high up in the mountains where everything is so clean and people are so rare that the animals practically ignore you. But the truth is, the river is far from indestructible. It is in grave danger. Pollution is rapidly killing it, and if something is not done very soon, it will be destroyed by the very people who come to worship it. The glacier that feeds the Ganges is quickly receding, and no one is sure how long it will be until it is gone.
I live in Gangotri 22 years. 22 years my job here guide, and Gangotri up all area here is was the glacier Kshetra. All many year again, but 22 years again. First time I went 78 to Gomukh. I see 1 kilometer again Gomukh. Many people coming here and population and pollution. Then glacier is back and back, then back. And every year much and much and much and much. I know. And balance only glacier 45 kilometer more. Glacier is no, then much hot. Sunlight is coming, much hot, no water coming. No glacier, then where is water? Snow. Every time Himalaya leave snow. But no snow, then no water. And after year, many year after, glacier is finished. Then I know.
Because the glacier is disappearing, each year it takes longer and longer for pilgrims to make the trek from the nearest village to the river's source. Today this trip takes about 15 hours, but this must be divided over 2 days because there are so few hours of daylight. India's population has more than doubled over the past 50 years, and today over 1 billion people call this country home, from the top of the mountains to the cities down in the plains. Sewage, garbage, and other pollutants are all going into the river, and global warming is affecting it as well. Nature seems to be on a race with time as each day brings more and more danger to the river. This is the village of Gangotri. Before the glacier started receding, the source of the river was located here, the exact spot where the goddess was believed to have first touched the earth. Ever since, it's been a place where Hindus come to send prayers to the goddess. According to legend, Ganga was a goddess in heaven who came down to earth because of the prayers of an Indian king named Bhagirath. He needed her waters to wash away the ashes of his ancestors in order to bring them eternal peace. Bhagirath prayed for so long that the god Brahma took pity on him and ordered Ganga to come down to earth. In order for this powerful goddess not to destroy everything in her path as she washed down from the heavens, the god Shiva absorbed Ganga into his matted locks to cushion the impact. The few drops of water that escaped and fell to earth became the river Ganges. A huge rock in the middle of the river marks the exact spot where the goddess is said to have landed. The main village temple was built right next to it. Gangotri is a temporary settlement. It was built so that pilgrims have shelter and food when they come to pray to the river. The village is cold and isolated, so most people only stay a few days. The only people who live so far up in the mountains are religious seekers called sadhus or babas. Babas are a special class of people in India who have renounced their lives in order to devote their time to prayer and meditation. Babas are sort of like monks, but they have no formal hierarchies. There are many kinds of Babas, but since there is a general link between the river Ganges and the god Shiva, many Babas who live along the river's banks are his followers. Babas are considered completely apart from the rest of society, and until about 100 years ago, they couldn't even be prosecuted under Indian law. Today, most Babas still separate themselves from society, often living in caves or tents far away from the rest of the world. A peculiar aspect of their lives is that Babas don't work. Their productive time is spent meditating, and it is up to the rest of society to support them as their spiritual guides. Babas who are Shiva's followers use marijuana on a religious basis because it is said that Shiva ate hashish cakes as a holy sacrament. This is an acceptable practice among Indian mystics who have been using the plant for religious purposes for thousands of years. Marijuana has been nicknamed ganja after the river Ganges because it first grew here. These Babas imitate Shiva in a lot of ways. For example, they mat their hair, they carry a warrior's trident, and they go around practically naked.
Who God? This also Baba. You like Shiva, you like Krishna, you like Rama, any God. Allah, Muslim, Eastern God, Muslims, any God, Bhagwan, some mixture. But this God now, God also Baba. Why? Ki Baba, every family connection, not one family. Yes, good Baba. I have a Guruji, I have everything, but I stay one. Simple house, simple life, simple food, simple friend. Little. Now one chilla more making Baba. Bum 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 bum. Mahadev, Shiva Kashi Jai Ho.
For thousands of years of Indian history, people lived in villages, and villages were small. This ancient way of life is still visible in remote agricultural communities in the Himalayas, where people still live on what the land itself can provide. One of these villages is Gangnani, which is known throughout the region for its hot spring. Gangnani has very little contact with the outside world. There is no road, and the only access is a mountain path half a kilometer up the steep mountainside. This is the final day of the Durga Puja festival in Gangnani, the most important celebration of the year. Traditionally, all the villagers gather together in the middle of the village, where music and dancing idols are used to bless the food. Then everyone sits in a giant circle and eats together, men first, then women and children. The most common meal is rice and lentils, along with whatever vegetables the villagers can grow, and everything is cooked over an open fire. Traditionally, all the food is eaten with the hands, while the water comes straight from the mountain spring that flows into the Ganges. After the meal, it is customary to tie a red string around the wrist of each participant to signify that the prayers have been performed. Villagers use the river for drinking, washing, and irrigating their fields. This arrangement seems idyllic in many ways, but villagers like this also use the river to carry away their waste. As times change and villages turn into bustling cities, you can imagine the resulting effect on the river. From its source in Gomukh and past the holy village of Gangotri, the Ganges turns down the mountains past a number of smaller towns and villages, until it reaches Rishikesh in the foothills of the Himalayas. In Rishikesh, you start to get hints of the vast population and the faster pace of life that exists in the plains further south. The horns of many cars and rickshaws are deafening, and exhaust fills the air. Everything is a lot dirtier than it was further up in the mountains, but the river itself is still relatively clean. This is good for the countless religious retreat centers that are popular with the many Indians and foreigners who end up here. Rishikesh is also known as the yoga capital of the world, and every year thousands of yoga enthusiasts travel here to learn from the masters.
Quite difficult thing. According to the yoga system, there exists secondary chakras at the level of the joints of the limbs. That means like inside in the middle, at the level of the wrist.
It's a little ironic that today the most popular yoga teacher in Rishikesh is a Westerner. Swami Vivekananda was born in Romania and educated as an engineer before he turned to learning the secrets of yoga full-time.
Usually when I talk to my pupils about yoga, I prefer to tell them what yoga does. I mean, I speak about the effects of yoga. What can you get through the practice of yoga? Then it is up to you to decide what yoga is. If it's a philosophical system, if it's a way of life, if it is, I don't know what else you can call it. I mean, they've been given a lot of dry or colorful explanation. That yoga is a path to ecstasy, that yoga is a path to self-realization, that it is this and that. But I think it is best defined through its own actions. That means through what it delivers, through what it gives to the human beings.
Many people are familiar with yoga as an exercise or relaxation technique, but this is only part of an entire philosophical system. While many books have been written on different approaches to yoga, most masters will tell you that books contain only a small portion of the complete teaching. There are many schools of yoga, and each teaches a different technique or philosophy.
Yoga is an elite thing. For the time being, yoga is not a mass thing. It is this thing for initiates, for a few chosen disciples who get to know the secret forces of nature. The thing which is special in India is not about Ganga. The thing which is special in India is about people's belief or faith. That means the river Ganga is what it is because so many millions of people so fanatically believe in it. That means there is a power of belief, especially when it is geared in hundreds of millions of people, it produces a measurable effect. Scientists apparently have measured in the river Ganga all kind of amazing things, that it is sterile, bacteria-free, in spite of all the garbage which is dumped in it and all kind of things, that the river Ganga has some amazing properties. Today, significantly, less and less people believe in this, and the Ganga at the same time becomes more and more normal. It is chemically polluted and that has nothing to do with bacteria and germs. So more and more people actually believe now, okay, Ganga, you cannot really drink water from the Ganga or whatever because it starts getting dangerous. Still, peasants do it big time. It's the fervor, the belief, the faith which they have. In a climate like India, where torrents get dried up and water is a problem and so on, of course, in June when everything is boiling at I don't know how many degrees under the sunshine, Ganga is the only place where you can go and feel a little bit of coolness in the night or take a dip in its cold water and kind of get refreshed. Without Ganga, this place would be scorched, simply. It is. So of course Ganga is like the source of life throughout India, through the plains of India and wherever you go. Without Ganga they wouldn't exist, and they know this. So in this way it's like a kind of cult of nature. It's like being grateful to the forces of nature. That is why the sacredness of Ganga is actually hidden in the sacredness of the human heart. It is the human heart which is sacred, and the belief, the pure belief of so many people makes Ganga special.
Yoga is not the only thing that draws foreigners to Rishikesh. Back in the 1960s, the Beatles came here to meditate, write music, and relax from the rigors of fame. The band joined a Maharishi Mahesh Yogi ashram on the banks of the Ganges. Many of the bungalows in this ashram were built using the stones found in the riverbed, and many people believe that they are especially conducive to deep meditation. The ashram was very popular at the time, but it has since been left a ruin. The Beatles didn't last long in Rishikesh, but George Harrison did eventually become a Hare Krishna, and his ashes were buried in the Ganges when he died in 2002.
Now time many European people, they are very close to the Hindu culture. Like example, George Harrison. This man, he died in America, but his wife was bring the ashes to put in a Ganga. So they tell me not make a publishing. So when she come, we make a secret. Yeah, she's making one school here, children's school for music, and make a Hare Krishna temple.
The next city along the Ganges is Haridwar. It's only 20 kilometers away from Rishikesh, so to get there, many pilgrims travel by bus. The ride costs under $1, But this is still a lot of money for most Indians, and haggling over the ticket price is quite common. The buses are usually extremely crowded, and almost always playing music full blast. Pilgrims dress in their very best clothes and often carry flowers with them to use later in prayers to the river. Haridwar is said to be the exact spot where the Ganges emerges from the Himalayas and begins its journey through the plains of northern India. Hindus believe that ceremonial purity is guaranteed when a believer bathes in one of India's holy rivers, and the river Ganges confers a special purity because it is considered the most holy river of all. Haridwar is a place so popular with Hindus for religious observances that the local government diverted the river into a special canal to support the huge number of worshippers that gather here. The water in the canal flows by extremely fast, and worshippers have to be really careful not to be swept away as they bathe. The narrow banks of the river are extremely crowded day and night. During the dry season, the city's merchants gather to sell everything from hats to jewelry to chillums, which are special pipes for smoking tobacco and hashish. Since space is limited indoors, vendors cook food on the street to sell to restaurants and passers-by. Flowers to use in prayers are also for sale, and workers turn tobacco into traditional hand-rolled bidis, which are leaves of tobacco rolled up and tied with a string. They are small but quite strong. You can also find a great variety of fruit, as well as herbs and spices for use in traditional medicines. At night, the city is transformed. Weddings are a particularly interesting event in India, since each celebration is as ostentatious as the family can afford. In this particular case, the groom is covered in flowers and carried to the ceremony in a shiny horse-driven carriage. A band plays loudly, and people have been hired to accompany the wedding party, carrying special lights on their heads. They have to carry a generator with them for the lights to work, and it gets its own special carriage. Drums, bells, and trumpets fill the air with noise as the groom in his shiny carriage disappears into the night. As darkness falls, the banks of the river take on a whole new look as pilgrims crowd for evening prayers. During prayer time, only members of the Brahmin caste are allowed to lead the worshippers. You have to be born a Brahmin. There is no movement within the caste system. However, this system is dying out, especially since the Indian government has outlawed discrimination based on caste.
So far as my knowledge goes, caste system is perhaps very much peculiar to India in the sense that it is practiced not only among Hindus, but it has impacts on other religions also. But caste system has influenced, rather in a negative sense, these religions also. Actually, there is nothing wrong with the caste system as such. The only evil associated with the caste system may be denial of basic human rights and fundamental freedom to any individual on the basis of caste. Fortunately, our constitution, our law forbids discrimination on the ground of caste. But it will take some time before caste system is abolished altogether from this country.
As the evening begins, the Brahmins welcome the many pilgrims who have come to offer their prayers. These prayers are often accompanied with offerings to the river. Gifts to the goddess traditionally include flower petals set on a boat of leaves, sometimes with sweets or incense set on top. Fire is important as well, so that each offering includes the four main elements of the Hindu world: earth, water, air, and fire. Worshippers place these gifts into the flowing river, often while reciting a mantra. A mantra is a word or syllable chanted or silently repeated in meditation to help clear and focus the mind. The word Om is an example of a mantra. Experts estimate that there are over 400 million gods recognized within the Hindu fold, and single gods are worshipped in many different forms with different names.
Here in Hindu mythology, it is believed that God is one, but people, the wise men, speak of that single reality in different ways because of its different functions, because of fulfilling the different purposes of a particular deity. That is why the Vedic mythology has admitted a large number of gods and goddesses.
This myriad of gods and beliefs makes Hinduism unique among the world's religions. The prayers of thousands of pilgrims are carried with the river as it travels past the rich plains of northern India. The city of Allahabad is located at the delta of two great Indian rivers, the Ganges and the Yamuna. Despite its size, the Ganges doesn't have regular boat traffic, so you have to travel by bus or train. Allahabad itself is a large, dirty, overcrowded industrial city without much interest to outsiders. It is an important Hindu pilgrimage spot, but the city center is a good 5 kilometers away from the river. Rickshaw is the best way to get there, and the ride usually takes about 45 minutes. Once you reach the river, there is usually an upbeat atmosphere here, with people, dancing, temples, and other festivities a regular part of the day. This holy spot is called Sangam, the place where 3 holy rivers are said to converge. Where the rivers meet, you can literally see the waters mixing, since the Ganges is brown while the Yamuna is green. The third river, the Saraswati, is mythical and can be seen only by the gods. Pilgrims take boats to get to the exact spot where the rivers mix, and ritual bathing is the main activity of the day.
In our Vedas, in our Puranas, it is said that by having darshan of Ganga, by looking at Ganga, paras, by touching Ganga, by taking holy dip in her waters, and by sipping the water, we get happiness and salvation.
This is a beautiful spot, but the truth is that for several years now, scientists have declared the Yamuna to be a dead river. The waste of Delhi, Agra, and many other big cities flows directly into the Ganges here at this sacred location. As we leave Allahabad and travel down the river, we reach the most fascinating and legendary site along the banks of the Ganges. The ancient city of Varanasi has been India's religious and cultural center for over 3,000 years. It is situated between 2 tributaries to the Ganges, the Varuna to the north and the Asi to the south. As Mark Twain put it when he visited the city, Varanasi is older than history, older than tradition, even older than myth, and looks twice as old as all of them put together. It is especially important for Hindus to bathe here in Varanasi toward the end of their lives, in order to purify themselves before they die.
This is the city of Lord Shiva. That is why people think that into the end of his life one should go to Kashi, so that by bathing into Ganga all the sins can be removed and rid of.
The center of all this activity is the city Ghats. Ghat is another word for quay or pier. In India, ghats are cement steps that lead from the city's edge to the river. They allow pilgrims easy access to the water. There are a number of different ghats in Varanasi. Each is roughly a 50-meter piece of land sponsored by a particular person or religious group. Different ghats have different functions. Some are used for religious purposes and others serve more practical needs. Many locals bring their work down to the ghats, so it is common to see people bathing, fishing, or washing clothes. The ghats are a popular place to water the local buffalo, so you can also see people gathering buffalo dung. Indians mix it with straw, and then they pat it into bricks. Once dried, these bricks are then used for cooking and heating in the place of wood, since most trees in India were cut down for fuel hundreds of years ago. The ghats of Varanasi are extremely important to all Hindus.
In Varanasi, this 7-kilometer stretch of the river between Asi and Varuna is a very special place where even today about 60,000 people take holy dip in the river every day. For them, Ganga water is the medium of life.
But there are two ghats along Varanasi's shoreline that are very special. Manikarnika and Harishchandra ghats are used exclusively for cremating the bodies of pilgrims who come here to die. Legend has it that the god Shiva is physically present at Manikarnika Ghat at all times. That means that if a person is cremated here, Shiva himself takes that spirit to heaven. This will release the person's soul from the cycle of birth and death and guarantee eternal happiness. Pilgrims from all over India come to Varanasi toward the ends of their lives in hopes that Shiva will personally guide their spirits to heaven. If they are successful in their quest to die here, there is a special ritual for each burning that takes place.
When person die, first. When men die, then men. When lady die, then ladies. She change the old cloth, take out the old cloth and take little butter to make the massage of the body. Then they put water and clean the body. Then when men die, they put in a white cloth. When lady die, they put in a red color. So they take two big bamboo, you know the bamboo? Then they make the 5 scale steps and they put body on top and tied by the string, and 4 men they carry the body on the shoulder. So when they carry the body on the shoulder, they chanting the mantra. They speak in Hindi, very loudly they speak. They say Ram Naam Satya Hai, Ram Naam Satya Hai, like this. Then behind the people, more people or family relatives, they are following them. So they reply same. So they bring body at a burning place. The first body go in a water to clean, to purify the body by the holy water. They clean the body, they put body in a water to clean the body by the holy water to purify the body. Then they go to the office, there they give the name, address, how the person died, all information. Then he get the permission to burn the body. Otherwise somebody kill somebody, bring and burn nobody, no? So when they got the permission, then they go to buy the wood. One body take 3 times more than body. Suppose body is a 60 kilo, then they take 180 kilo. And that they take some special wood, holy tree, it is called banyan tree. So this would make a speciality, it will not give the bad smell. So when you burn the hair, when you burn the skin, it gives the bad smell. But due to that, wood did not give the any smell there. And when wife died, then husband they light a fire. When parent died, then elder son will light at a fire. So this man, he must shave the hair, put a white cloth, because white is a funeral color. So when they light a fire, they not use the lighter, not the matches, they use the holy fire, which is fire keep inside a temple. This fire keeping since long time, always burning, never stop. So they use same fire to burn the body. Then body will get the salvation. But that fire must be taken by the untouchable men who work at the burning place. So when the untouchable man will give the fire, then family they are obliged to give him something back against the fire. Otherwise body will not reborn or reincarnation. So when they got the fire, even poor man or rich man, everybody they get the fire. So they bring the fire, go to burn the body and wait there 3 hours, because one body take 3 hour time for burn. So after 3 hours they get a bones, because chest of the man, pelvic of the lady doesn't burn. So they take out from fire to throw in a water for the fishes, for the animal to use someone. Then they bring the water, put on the fire. Why? Because when they put a water on the fire getting cold. When fire getting cold, that is a sign, that is a symbol, dead body soul getting peace.
The air is filled with smoke, but it actually doesn't smell as bad as you would expect. Maybe it's because of the wood that's used, or maybe it's the myriad of other smells around. But the most unique part of the cremation process involves the Babas that live here at the cremation ghats. These Babas actually eat the cremated bodies on a religious basis.
Maya di sakti ne duniya srishti rachai hai.
Agori Babas are intimately connected with the cremation process that is ongoing in Varanasi. Agori Babas often live near the cremation fires because their prasad, or holy sacrament, is the very flesh the fires consume. They believe that after being touched by the holy fire, the bodies are holy themselves, and to eat the flesh of these bodies makes you pure. Boom Boom Baba is an Agori Baba that lives at the Harishchandra cremation ghat. He is a well-known figure in Varanasi. People all along the ghats fear and respect him and come to him for his blessing. While his mysticism is uniquely Indian, Boom Boom Baba shares his teaching with Indians and foreigners alike.
My name is Boom Boom Baba. Dead body burning place, your Harishchandra. Your Ghori Sadhu people, holy man, good Sadhu people. Your Prasad men. Your Ghori Sadhu people, your man eats, man eating, and Prasad, Mahakal Prasad. Mahakal Prasad and Aghori Sadhu people's man eat, drink, enjoy, everything. No problem. Your Baba life, very nice life, very good life. You're alone, you're free, 24 hours free, no problem. Your holy man, sadhu people's life, and good karma. Many peoples, Indian peoples coming here, you're disturbing.
In spite of their unconventional practices, or perhaps because of them, Agori Babas are highly respected within Indian culture. A lot of people believe that they have a special kind of black magic. They often carry the ashes of cremated bodies with them for use in spells and ceremonies, as well as implements such as monkey bones or human skulls, which they use to drink the holy water of the Ganges.
Man head, 4 portion. You're here brain, here, your brain. Your back side, here. God here. No anything's God. God here. everybody, every man, God. God finish and man finish. हृदय बसे सुरभूप सियावर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय बम 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 महादेव बम बाबा मशाननाथ माँ काली कप्पड़ वाली जी आको मशान काली जी आको
In order for a Hindu soul to attain peace, their bodies have to be cremated, not buried. But wood is expensive, so many bodies do not get burned all the way before the wood runs out. Also, some people, like children, do not get burned at all. Their bodies are considered naturally pure, so they are rowed out to the middle of the river and dumped without any burning. These well-established cultural traditions have begun to have a really bad effect on the river. The city's garbage collects in the sacred ghats. Untreated sewage flows directly into the river. Cows are considered sacred animals in India, and they are left to the Ganges when they die. The decomposed bodies of many different animals wash up on the city's banks. Packs of wild dogs roam the unpopulated stretches of the river, scavenging on the bodies. Partially burned and rotting human corpses also pile up on the shore. Scenes like these are common in places like Varanasi, and no one is particularly offended by them. But the people's faith in the basic purity of the river leads many to believe that despite the contamination, the river is still essentially clean. There are efforts underway to clean the ghats at the ritual bathing spots to get rid of the most obvious garbage, but there's nowhere else for the waste to go. Because trash cans are not widely used in India, people throw their garbage everywhere, and a lot of it ends up in the river. There are people in Varanasi who take the time to pick up the worst of the trash from the shoreline, mostly a wide variety of plastic bags, but the idea is simply to make the ghats look nice, not to actually do anything about the problem. The garbage that's removed is just rowed over to the other side of the river and dumped. When the monsoon season begins, the flood takes this garbage and washes it downstream to pollute the next city downriver. While this would be disastrous enough in any culture, the specific ways that Indians interact with and depend on the Ganges for activities such as bathing and drinking literally make this contamination life-threatening. In Varanasi, which is located downstream from large industrial cities such as Delhi and Agra, these supposedly purifying practices are becoming physically dangerous. Can the Ganges be saved? And if so, will Indians be able to keep bathing in it and drinking it as they have been for thousands of years? Only time will tell.
Today there are about, I think, 114 cities situated directly on the bank of Ganga, where the population is more than 100,000. In the whole length of the river, I would say that about 1500 million liters per day of wastewater, that is sewage and industrial pollution, is being discharged into the river in this 2500 kilometers of the length which it traverses. And this is the biggest problem. Then the garbage dumping, cattle valuing, dead body dumping, all these activities also pollute the river.
For millennia, Indians were able to throw their waste into the river with minimal environmental impact because the population remained small and enough air and land were available to absorb and disperse wastes. But today, as the country grows, the pollution has gotten out of control.
if the water is polluted, one day they will catch disease, they will be suffering from waterborne diseases, and they will die.
As night falls on the city, the evening puja begins. The main ghat in Varanasi is host to the most sacred ritual that takes place on the river's banks. Pilgrims crowd the ghats as Brahmins lead the ceremony. Dedicated to Brahma and Shiva, this tradition has been taking place for thousands of years here along the river's shores. Soon after beginning, the noise is deafening. Bells, drums, and song are all part of the ritual, but participation rather than harmony is what is most important. Will the Ganges survive into the next century? With luck, the goddess will hear these special prayers. There is much to be done to save the river and the traditions that are connected with it. As darkness falls, the banks of the river take on a whole new look. The cremation fires continue burning into the night. The souls of the lucky ones who are cremated here are purified by the Lord Shiva, who releases them from all sin.
In one day, 180 to 150 bodies are burned in 24 hours.
You're here, God. You're finished. Your dead body burning place.
God, everybody, inside, Atma, same Baba.
The sacredness of Ganga is actually hidden in the sacredness of the human heart. It is the human heart which is sacred, and the belief, the pure belief of so many people makes Ganga special.
In India, according to the principle of reincarnation, the end of one marks the beginning of another. Born among the snow-capped peaks of the Himalayas, the Ganges began as a mountain of ice melting into a river of water. Now, as the Ganges comes to an end, it joins the vast waters of the Bay of Bengal and is reborn as the Indian Ocean.